Hi people, welcome to Val Fashion's YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. So today we'll be learning how to make an off-shoulder gown. This is going to be an off-the-shoulder gown, and I'm using this George fabric. It's for a client for her traditional marriage. So this is the net fabric, the Indian George. You know, it comes with the wrapper and the net, which is going to be for the upper part, that will be for the blouse. So in this case, I'm making an off-shoulder gown. So I'm going to have this net fabric up, and I'll have the George down. It's just going to be a straight cut. That's a pencil skirt down. Okay, so I'm using this for the upper part, and then I'm going to be using this satin. It's a doll face satin. That's what I'll be using to line the net, and then my lining also that will be covered there. Okay, so to get started, I'll be drafting directly on my lining fabric. So I'm just going to place my fabric on fold now, and then we'll get started. Going ahead to place my fabric on fold, I use the biggest part of the part I'm working with. That's the region I'm working with. I'm working with the upper region, which is the half length. So the bust is the biggest, which is 37 inches. So 37 divided by 4, that's 9 1/4 plus 4 inches. So I have 13 1/4. I have a little more than that, but that's fine. Okay, so now to get started, the measurements needed is your shoulder measurement. Remember, we're doing an off the shoulder measurement, but I'll explain why we need the shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement, the bust measurement, the under bust measurement, and your waist measurement, because this will stop at the waist line. Okay, so now her half length, is, you also need the half length, the bust point, the under bust point, and the half length, which is from shoulder to waistline. So I'm placing my tape now. I'm placing my tape from -4 inches. Remember, I'm making an off the shoulder, so I'm subtracting 4 inches from my actual measurement. So I'm just going to draw my starting line so that all my measurements can start from that point. Okay, so here we are. So this is my starting line. Okay, so I'll go ahead to enter the nipple to nipple measurement. The nipple to nipple for this client is 7. 7 divided by 2, that's 3.5 plus half inch. So that will give me 4 inches. So nipple to nipple measurement is referred to as the bust pan. So, and in this case, that's 7 inches when divided by 2 is 3.5. Then I went ahead to add half inch. So can you see my fabric is on fold at this point? This is the folded part. So this is the center front. Okay, so placing my tape from -4, I'm going to mark the bust point. The bust point for this client is 10 inches. And then the under bust point for her is 13.5. And then the waistline is 17 inches. So here's my 17 inches, so plus half inch for joining the waistline. Okay, so here, I'm just going to draw out these lines. Okay, so now go ahead to enter the bust measurement on this line. The bust measurement, remember this is the bust point line. So the bust measurement is 37 divided by 4. I will have my 9 1/4 inch. So here is my 9 1/4 inch. The waist measurement, the under bust measurement is 32 inches. 32 divided by 4, I will have 8 inches. So that's 8 inches. So now to determine how I'm going to tighten, what I'll be using to tighten the under bust measurement, because remember we are doing an off the shoulder bustier, and this bustier is going to be a straight bustier. Okay, so now to determine what I'll be using to tighten it, remember that I measured here, I had 9 1/4, and then here I have 8 inches. So the difference between the bust and the under bust is what I'll be using, and that difference is 1 1/4 inch. So if you want it to be really grippy, you can use 1.5. That's, I'm just going to be adding 1/4 inch to what I have there. So I'll mark my 1/4 inch, my 1 1/2 on this side. take note, I'm marking it on this side. So I'm just going to use 1.5. The actual thing I got was 1.25, but I want this dress to be very grippy. That's to give the bust that lift. So that's why I'm marking 1.5 here. I'll bring the same 1.5 to the waistline also. Okay, so on this side, remember this is this side, and then the center part, I'll mark 1/2 inch on this side. Remember that the nipple to nipple measurement, that's the bust span, was 7, and then we added 1/2 inch. So that 1/2 inch is for our dart on this side. And then here is 1.5. So I'll be connecting it to the bust point line. So this is to the bust point line, and then you also do this to this part. Okay, so to get your upper chest, because this is the bust point and under bust, so to get the upper bust, whatever is the distance I have here, I will take it up plus 1/2 inch. So I have 3.5 inches, so plus 1/2 inch, that is 4 inches. So at this point is the upper chest line of this person. So whatever the distance is from bust point to under bust, add 1/2 inch to it to get your upper chest line or upper bust line. Okay, so on this part, I'll come here to take 1/2 inch on the center to tighten the upper bust, and then I'll also come here to take 1/2 inch. So I'll use this part of my ruler because you don't want it to be so curvy around here. So, and I'll also come here to connect it like this. Okay, and then I'll go ahead to take this up this way and then up this way all the way to the starting line. So now I have this. Okay, so I'll come here now to enter my measurements proper. Okay, the bust measurement is 9.25 inch, which I have already. So I'll add my 2 inches for sewing allowance. So the under bust measurement is 32. 32 divided by 4, that's 8. So remember, I've taken that here. So I have 2 inches that. I'll come back here and replace my 2 inches for that. And then before I go ahead to add my sewing allowance of 2 inches. Okay, the waist measurement I'm working with is 31 inches. 31 divided by 4, that is 7.75. So 7.75 here. Then of course I still have 2 inches that. I'll come here and replace my dart, and then also go ahead to add my 2 inches for sewing allowance. So basically you can see that the line looks straight here, and then I'll just connect it to this point, that's to the bust point. Okay, so for this part, which is the upper chest line, I'll be entering the armhole measurement. Okay, so now let's take note of this. The armhole of this client is 7.6. How did I come about 7.6? Is 37 divided by 6 plus 1.5. That's how you get your armhole measurement. So remember that I started my measurement from -4. So if her armhole measurement is 7.6, so this is where my 7.6 is supposed to be. Okay, so now that means this part is supposed to carry the shoulder measurement. So now what are we going to do? Our shoulder measurement for this client is 15. 15 divided by 2, because my fabric is on fold. 15 divided by 2, that's 7.5. Okay, so 7.5, this is where my 7.5. But take note, I have taken that from here. So that's what we must put into consideration. So now that I've taken that from here, I'm going to place my tape here. So from this point, from this folded part to this part, I have 3.25 inch. So I'm going to bring that 3.25 inch to this side. I'm subtracting this dart here. So from here to here is 3.25 inch. So I'll bring my 3.25 inch to the next dart to continue my measurement. So 3.25 inch to 7.5. So here is where my 7.5 should be. But take note, we are making an off the shoulder. So to achieve an off the shoulder, you are going to subtract 2 inches from your shoulder measurement. That's your shoulder measurement divided by 2 is 7.5 in this case for this client. So minus 2 inches, that will leave me with 5.5. And of course, I need to add half inch for joining my sleeve. So that will leave us with 6 inches. So right now, we know that this point is our 7.5 point, and we're looking for 6 inches, isn't it? So I'll just take away 1.5 from it. So this is where the actual shoulder measurement for this client is now for the off shoulder that I'm making. This is where her armhole is supposed to be. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so this is the point now. So I'm just going to come here now and create the curve, the armhole point. So now we'll go ahead to enter the bust measurement on the chest line, which is the armhole point. Okay, the bust divided by 4 is 9¼ So from this point, so you can see that by taking this dart, so I'm going to replace 1 inch here, because you can see that the measurement is cutting across this way. It's across this way. So, and of course, this dart that will be cutting out here is going to give me a shortage. So I'm going to come back here and replace that 1 inch that was taken from this part. So that is it here. So I'm replacing my 1 inch, and then I'll go ahead to enter my 2 inches sewing allowance. Is that simple? So I'm going to connect it now to the bust line. Okay, and then I'll draw my armhole. Okay, so this is it. So my armhole is stopping at this point after adding my 1 inch that completes the bust measurement. So I'll just curve it this way. So for an off shoulder, you don't want to over curve it. Just really make it a little slanted like I'm doing. You don't want to over curve it. Okay, so now it's time for us to do our neckline. The neck width and the kind of neckline I'm making is a sweetheart neckline, and I want it to be 7 inches deep. Okay, so remember that we have marked our 4 inches. That we started our measurement from 4 inches. Okay, I'm going to make this 6 inches deep. I just remember that the person said she doesn't want her cleavage to show. So I'm placing my tape from 4 inches, and then I'm marking at 6 inches now. Okay, so and then this is it. So I'll bring in my curve and then create the sweetheart shape like this. So can you see that my sweetheart shape is affecting basically the middle? That's my center piece. So this is what we have. So I'll bring in my scissors now and we'll get started with our cutting. So now I have my side piece and then I have my center piece. So you want to just come here this way and trim this part a little. So this is me cutting the neck depth. Okay, so this is what we have. So this is what we have for our center piece. Let's open it up like this, and then our side piece like this. So this is how we're going to be sewing them together. So by the time we place it this way, can you see? This is what we have. Okay, so now the next thing to do is to place our fabric to cut our back piece. We're still going to come back to this front piece. I'm going to explain something now. Okay, let me do that even before we get to the back. Okay, for this front piece now, I'm going to be reducing 1.5 inches from the side here. I'm just going to be reducing 1.5 inches. This is because the front length is longer than the back length. And the reason why the front length is longer than the back length, of course, is because we have our bust in front. And for this client, the difference is 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to be taking it away from the side, because remember that we're going to be sewing our side piece, that's the front side piece and the back side piece together. So I'll just come here now and go up by 1.5 inch on this side, and then I'll slant it towards this part. So this is basically the bust dart. Of course, if I was drafting on a pattern paper, I would have had my bust dart closed. So by closing it, it still takes away that difference between the front and the back length. So I hope we understand. So this is it. So by the time we sew, can you see? We're just going to have that curved shape that a female or women have around the waistline. So let's get started with our back piece. Also folded my fabric for the back piece. Okay, now so this back is not going to have zip allowance because I'm not going to be attaching a zipper to this dress. This dress is going to have loops, so I don't need zip allowance in this. So we just want to lace the back. Okay, so basically I'm going to be using the bust measurement tool to determine the amount of fabric. So the bust divided by 4, we already know 9 and 3/4, sorry, plus 2 inches. So that's what we need here. So I'm just going to press it. So like I did for the front, I'm going to be marking my starting line. So here's my starting line for the back. Okay, and then like I also did for the front, remember my measurement started from -4, so I'm placing my tape also from -4. The back length for this client now is 15 inches. Remember we talked about the difference between the front and back, which is 1.5. So 15 inches here plus half inch for joining, so that will bring me to 16. The front was 17 plus half inch, that was 17.5. So right now we're using 16.5. so here we are. So we'll go ahead to place our tape from -4 to get the armhole measurement, which is the chest line. Basically those are the measurements you need at the back. The chest line, that's 7.6. So here is our 7.6. Okay, so 7.6, just the same way we subtracted 2 inches from our shoulder measurement in front, that's the same way we're going to be doing. So now I'm marking 6 inches. Yes, I'm going to be needing half inch for turning my lining. So because by the time I turn the lining, I'm going to lose half inch. So here I'll come here to add that half inch. So that's the difference between the front and the back. So remember that for the front, we're replacing our darts and all that. So that will give us what we are looking for. Okay? Now, this is now the back chest line. So I'll come here to enter the bust measurement. Bust divided by 4, 9 and 1/4 plus 2 inches for my sewing allowance. So the waist measurement is 31. 31 divided by 4 is 7 and 3/4 plus 2 inches, and then plus 1 inch for darts, because we're going to be having our darts at the back. Okay, so now go ahead to place the bust span measurement, which is the nipple to nipple measurement. That's 4 inches. Okay, so here is my 4 inches, and then I'll draw my chest line because the dart will be stopping on the chest line. So here I'll come here to mark the same 4 inches. So we'll connect this line like this, and then remember we added 1 inch for that, so that will be half inch on this side and then half inch on the other side, and then we'll go ahead to connect it to the chest line. So here is our dart for the back. Okay, so for the armhole now, we're just going to create our armhole just the same way we did for the front. We'll make sure that we don't deepen the armhole too much. It needs to be a little slanted because it's an off shoulder. So you can see it's stopping at this point, which is the bust measurement. It didn't go all the way to the sewing allowance. Okay, they will curve this way. So now we already have this. Okay, so the next thing now to do, remember I said we're taking loops. We're going to be having loops at the back. Okay, so in order to have that loops, I'm going to be subtracting from the actual measurement so that we can lace that part so that there can be that space at the back. So I'm going to be subtracting 1.5 inch from here, the waistline, and then I'll come to the chest line. I'll be subtracting 2 inches. So this is what I'll be doing. So I'll take it all the way up like this. Okay, so I'll be cutting out this part. So on the skirt pattern, I'll make sure to put into consideration this 1.5 inch I removed. So that will be the space on the skirt pattern so that we can lace the back of this bustier. Okay, so now we're going to make our back neckline. And for the back, I'm using a neck depth of 6 inches also. So remember that our measurement started from -4. So this is our 6 inches here at this point. So just want to curve it this way. Okay, so can you see what we have? So right now we'll connect the bust measurement, the chest line to the waistline, and then we'll go ahead to cut out. So we are done with our back. We'll keep it so that you take note of what you have removed so that you don't get confused when you are cutting your back piece. Okay, so can you see what we have? So this is what our back piece will look like. So you see the space that will be in between them, which is this. So I remember that is on fold. This is 1.5 on fold here, 2 inches. So at the end of the day, that will be 3 inches when it is open, because this is both for the left and right, and then 4 inches when it is opened. Okay, so here can you see our front and back armholes? They are matching up. They are matching up. Can you see what we have here? So now I'll just place my main satin fabric and then cut out the actual piece I want, because for this George fabric I'm not going to be cutting it in pieces. So I'll place it. I want this pattern to be as it is, exactly as it is. So I'm just going to be cutting from my satin fabric, then I'll show us how to just cover it up to give it that nice effect. Okay, so I'll be showing us how to pad our off the shoulder bustier. This is my side piece and then the center piece. Okay, so I'll be using this paper to cut out the pattern for the pad. So I'm just going to place this now like this. Now take note of this part. This part that is notched is the underbust part. So of course our pad is going to get to the underbust. So you can see here too, they are both notched. Okay, so I'm going to place my side piece on this paper. So it's an off the shoulder I'm making. I'm going to come here now. I came down this off the shoulder. I started from 4 inches. Okay, that's I started from -4 inches. So and my pad is going to be starting from 6.5 inches. So here is my 6.5 inches. And then here is the underbust point. You can see it is marked already. So I'm just going to trace out this part now on my paper. Okay, so I haven't traced out this part. So you can see where my 6.5 started, and this is this point. And then this sharpest point or this highest point is the bust point. So I'm just going to mark that part on this paper. Okay, so from this highest point that I have there, I'm going to be entering the bust span measurement plus ½ inch. So the bust span measurement of this person is 4 inches, because the bust span is 7 inches on 4 when divided by 2, that's 3.5. So plus ½ inch for sewing, that's of course that's my 4 inches. So in this case I'm going to be adding that 4 inches plus half, so that will be 4.5 for the side. So I'll just curve it to this point, and then also curve it to this point like this. So I'll go ahead and cut it out like this. Okay, so this is what I'll be using. This is the template I'll be using to cut out my pad for the side piece. I'm going to place it on fold. You can see my crease line already. So I'll bring this piece of paper this way. So remember our measurement started from -4. So I'm placing my tape on -4, then I'll mark on 6.5 inches. So this is where my 6.5 inches, and then this is where the underbust point is. Okay, so I'll go ahead to trace out this shape also. Okay, so I haven't done this. So now, excuse me. So for this part, this is straight now this way. So on this center part, remember that I placed my fabric on fold. So this is the center part. So I'll go up by 1 inch on this point. This is to create that shape we have under our bust. So I'll go up by 1 inch and then I'll curve it to meet this point. Okay, so I'll use my paper scissors to cut it out like this. Okay, so this is what I'll be using to cut out my center piece. So let me place it here so that we can see what I'm talking about. So can you see the shape? It's following the shape, and then you can see how it is stopping at the underbust point. But take note, you can see that it's reaching the neckline. So in order not to allow it to reach the neckline, because we're going to be sewing this neckline, so if this place is padded, it will be too thick and it will not lay nicely. So I'll just come here and reduce this neck point by ½ inch. So this is what I will have. So can you see? So I came down by ½ inch to create so that I can neatly sew my sweetheart neckline. Okay, so that's that. So I'll bring in my pad and cut out the pads now. I'm cutting out my side pieces. So as you can see, this part is fusible. It has gum, so I'll iron it with. So it's good, the shiny part facing the shiny part. So now to cut out the center piece, I'm going to have to fold my warding or my breast part into 2. So remember that the center piece is on fold. That's it's into 2. You understand? We have the left and the right. So I'm just going to place my part on fold. Remember that my template is just a single one for one side, but of course I'm placing on fold to cut for the 2 sides. Cut out the center piece now, you can see. So I'm just going to place it this way, starting from the underbust point. So can you see how it is matching up? So I'm going to press it now. Remember I talked about the part that has gum, that is fusible. So I'll just press it with my steam iron and it will stick to it. Okay, I'll do the same thing for this side too, making sure to place it exactly on the underbust line, that's on this notched part, and then I'll also press it. So that is it for this. Applying my wording to the pieces, to my bustier. So I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew on ½ inch. So I'll do the same thing on this side. Then I'll show us how we place our lace fabric, that's the George fabric, or the part, the neck part. Okay, gone ahead to iron my bustier, and you can see the inside part, that's the wrong side. I also went ahead to use my paper stay to keep the seam lines open. So now it's time for me to place my George, the upper part of the George, on this part. So now take note of this pattern. You can see that this part is longer, which shows that this is the center. So I'm just going to fold this part like this, and I'll try to align it with my crease line. I don't know if you can see clearly, this is the crease line on the bustier. So I'm just going to make sure that I align this part with this center. That's the first thing to do, so that my pattern stays in the middle, or so that my pattern is centralized. Okay, so I'll place like this, and then I'll pin this part first. This part will be the first part I will pin so that it can be centralized. So having pinned the middle now, I'll begin to stretch out my fabric. so that it can blend in. So can you see what I'm doing here? So by doing this, it just makes it a lot easier for you. So you can now begin to stretch it out. You don't want to over drag, just stretch it out a little so that you can pin properly. Okay, so here we are. So after pinning, this is what I have. So I'll just go ahead to trim out the sides so that I have exactly what I need. So anywhere you notice that is not really pinned properly, you can just remove your pins and stretch it out, because it's very important for it to sit nicely. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm just going to trim it out. So this is what I have. So can you see that it's really coming out well? Okay, so I'm going to just take this to my sewing machine, and then I will top stitch the sides. So let me just place it on my body so that we can see. Can you see how it will be? It will stretch out more, of course, when it is on the body. Okay, so I'm just going to take it to my sewing machine and top stitch it. Then we will turn the neckline with our lining. After top stitching my sides, this is what we have. Can you see my stitch went round? This is what we have. So you can see that by the time it's on the body, it will stretch out like this and it will sit really nice. So this is just a way to sew your George fabric without having to destroy your pattern, so that the pattern just comes out well. All right, here we are. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new. If you did, kindly like this video, share it with your friends, and do not hesitate to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.